To be completely honest with you, starting Soar Society was not in my plans, but I'm going to be sharing today the unexpected journey and reason why I started, how I got it there, and the very confusing route along the way. But hey, that's entrepreneurship. Most people don't fail on social media because they aren't trying. They fail because they've never been taught how to lead. Welcome to the Soar Society Podcast, where we don't just talk about content, we develop content leaders. I'm Alana Cuellar, your host, entrepreneur, and founder of the Soar Society Collective, an online social media school equipping the next generation of individuals to show up online with clarity, confidence, and conviction. Here's the truth. I'm not here to just teach you how to be a content creator. I'm here to help develop the next generation of content leaders. On this podcast, you'll get a behind-the-scenes look at my journey of building a business, sharing my details of the last 10 years experience that I have in social media and marketing, breaking down the industry trends, and sharing lessons God is teaching me along the way. If you're a creator, entrepreneur, or someone who knows they're meant to build influence and impact online, you're in the right place. And if you want to go deeper, you can stay connected and join us inside the Soar Society Collective. It's time to spread your wings and start soaring. Hello. I'm Alana Cuellar, your host of this podcast, and I just wanted to say welcome to the first ever episode of the Soar Society Podcast. This is something that truthfully was something always in the back of my mind that I knew I wanted to start, but I'm really going to be taking this very first episode to just lay a lot of groundwork here, because if you may or may not know, if you follow me on social media, whether that be on my personal page or through the Soar Society social media, or if you're someone that I've met in person or at a networking event, I originally started Soar Society as my first ever legitimate business, and boy, has it been a journey since then. And I think there's a lot of untold story and personal journey to be shared from that people can learn from, because to be completely honest with you, there's a lot of fear behind talking about business and an entrepreneur's journey, because let's just be so real. I'm going to not sugarcoat things, and I'm just going to be the first to say it, that entrepreneurs and business owners, when we start, we really don't know what we're doing. Unless you grew up and inherited a business and all those things, which I did not. I decided to start one on my own. You don't know all of the answers. You don't know a lot of times what you're doing, but you are willing to figure it out as you go along. And in this episode, I'm going to be sharing my personal journey. So when I say, I'm just going to go ahead and dive right on in. Whether you're watching this on YouTube or Spotify, I just want to say thank you so much for your support. And this is just something that I hope you are able to learn from and take away any bit of learning things from. And always feel free to reach out to me on social media with your questions, advice, and of course, always joining the Soar Society Collective. So when I say that starting Soar Society was not always in my plans, so to say, what do I mean by that? So my background is that I actually went to college and got a business administration and marketing degree. That was something that I did, and my idea was that my degree was always just kind of going to be my backup. After I got out of college, I immediately, of course, did what any typical person would do, is I went and got the full-time job. I took on a director of social media and events role with a local organization here in my city where I live. Actually, technically not in my city. I had to do some driving, but besides the point. So I took on a role there doing that, and it was great. I learned planning, working with different departments located in different cities throughout the state of Texas, and that was great. But soon after that, I took another position as a project manager and a production manager at a media company. It was a media agency here locally where I live. I'm not going to name names because that's not what I'm here for. But that was a great position, partially remote, partially not. And because as the production manager side of things, I was having to go be in person for a bunch of essentially for every account that I managed, I had to go be in person for those content production shoots. So at that time, I was managing 11 different businesses, full-scale social media, plans. That was their Instagram, their TikTok, their Facebooks, coming up with monthly content for all of them on all platforms for all 11 businesses, going to the production shoots. And it was a lot of fun, very eye-opening, very stressful, to be completely honest with you. I was highly overworked, just truthfully pretty much underpaid too. And for me, it just wasn't worth it at the time. And at the time, I ended up being let go from that position. And at that point, I also was still doing my own personal social media. So I was having brand deals and just juggling all of the things. I always knew that social media was a passion of mine. But at that point, I was like, okay, well, I have experience on my own personally. I have experience doing this for other brands and businesses. At the time, I had also already managed social media for a friend of mine's business for 2 years. I had done that. And I was like, you know what? I've always kind of had that desire ever since I was younger. I was always like, even as a kid, I was very entrepreneurial, always making things and trying to sell them. I remember even being a kid making, like duct tape pens and making friendship bracelets and lemonade stands and always just trying to make something and sell it. So I always just kind of had that entrepreneurial spirit to me. And at this time, I was like, you know what? Why not try to start my own business? At the time, I had 3 different clients that kind of just fell in my lap, and I truthfully believe that God provided those clients for me because I did absolutely nothing to get those clients other than purely word of mouth in people saying, hey, I heard from so-and-so that you've run their social media for their business. They have great things to say about you. I need help. And so I ended up bringing them on. And I did that honestly just as a freelance individual. I did not have, a formal business formed or anything whatsoever. Did that for a while and I was like, you know what? I need to actually start a business. I started doing research, listening to business podcasts and hearing about the benefits of actually forming a business versus doing things freelance. And also I just wanted to be more professional about things, to present myself as a business rather than just an individual, because as an entrepreneur, people view you differently, whether you are just an individual trying to get freelance work versus a business. Like, I'm going to be so real with you. That's just the truth. People do view you differently because of that. And what you charge also is impacted by that too. And at the time, I had done so much research. I knew what standard agencies were charging. I had the experience. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try to launch my own. I really don't know where I'm going to get these other clients, but I also built up a network. So on my personal Instagram, that's always where I've gotten most of my, I guess, quote unquote growth and success from, was on my personal Instagram. I made so many connections through fashion, modeling, locally through events and all that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to reach out to my existing network of people and start attending networking events and all of the things. And lo and behold, that's when I had the idea of like, let me just start my own social media agency. I went back and forth and had all of the self-doubts of like, well, can I even call myself an agency? I'm just one individual right now. But I'm not just doing social media management, because social media management is just simply the posting and managing of the content once it's on the platforms and getting it on the platforms. But I'm doing all of the behind the scenes work too, of the strategy, the research, the analytics, like all of that. So it really is a full scale social media management and things that a full on agency would do. So I will say that I had the idea, and Soar Society was not even the original name that I had come up with. I had a completely different name in mind. I went to try to go look online to form that business name, and the name was taken. I actually got a rejection letter from the state saying that business name was taken. I needed to pick another. And honestly, I was like, okay, well, I kind of sat on the idea of starting a business for 3 months. And that is one thing if I look back at it and I say, don't sit on an idea for so long, because I heard this quote. I'm not going to take credit for it. I actually heard it from School of Hard Knocks. Procrastination is I'm going to butcher it now that I'm trying to remember it, but it's along the lines of, overall, I'm not taking credit for this quote, but it's along the lines of like, procrastination is the death of all destination. I'm pretty sure that's what the quote was. And so I look back at it and I'm like, wow, yeah, I procrastinated, I second guessed things, and it ultimately led to like, who knows how much growth I could have had in that time if I just fully ran for it. So I sat on that idea for like 3 months, until I was like, you know what? I prayed heavily about it too. Like, Lord, what do you want me to, like, what should I name this? What should the name be? I want it to just have meaning as well. And so I stumbled on, obviously it's a well-known Bible verse. It's Isaiah 40:31. It's those who wait upon the Lord shall soar upon wings like eagles. They shall run and not get weary, run and not lose strength. And that to me, just truthfully, I was like, as soon as the Lord led me to that verse, I was like, boom, that's it. That's exactly what I want to do. Then that's exactly how I want to run business. I want to help others soar on social media, but at the same time, having a faith foundation founded on the Lord. And I want everybody that I work with to know that that is the principal foundation that I do all things under. Is under the foundation of the Lord and waiting on Him and doing things with that set of values. And so I was like, all right, well, Soar Society it is. Of course, I was there back and forth with ChatGPT, as we all usually are, and just bouncing ideas, trying to decide on the branding, the logos, the colors, and all the things. So that was super, super fun. And so I was like, okay, so I at the time had one client, also was running social media for my church, which was really, really fun, overseeing the church social media team. And I was like, okay, well, I've got a client and I'm doing that at the same time. And I also have my own personal content. Let's just hit the ground running. And so at the time I was like, well, my first main way that I'm going to go get clients is, let's just think practically, I'm going to go to networking events. And I started it after I, made all of the social media handles. I made the Instagram, the TikTok, the YouTube, the threads, also me sitting there. This is just a very real thing. I think anytime somebody wants to start a new business, they want to have all of the things like perfect first. They want to make sure that every stepping stone is there, but it's this false idea that you have to have things perfect before you start that actually hinders you so much in your journey. Because if you continue to sit there and wait until you are quote unquote ready or have things figured out or have the right plan, like, you are never gonna start. Because I will tell you, even the things that I have planned in my business, a lot of it still didn't work out. There's a lot of ideas and in the past, even in things that I started that just didn't work. I had to stop. I couldn't maintain. And all of it's just the reality of being an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs start multiple businesses that fail until they start the one that is successful. And it's common. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's actually something to learn from. The way I see it is, you don't actually truthfully fail unless you give up. You will succeed as long as you keep going. If you see those quote unquote failures as stepping stones or launch pads to your success, then you will succeed. The only time you fail is if you purely give up. If you don't look back at those mistakes and learn from them and you continue to do those same mistakes, then you're of course going to fail again. And as long as you just look at it that way, you have information to look at and learn from and catapult you into that next successful idea. But you have to have those failures, those mess ups, those things that you learn from, the questionable, decisions that you made. You have to have those in order to keep going. And a lot of that for me with originally starting Soar Society as just a social media management business. It was great. I worked with different types of clients, from yoga studio, Pilates studio, a gym. Another one was a public speaker. I had experience in working with lawyers, automotive, dentistry. It was a lot of fun, but I got to a point where I was like, okay, this is great, but I was just me. I was reaching a bottleneck in so many clients that I could take on, because the reality that I will tell you too, that if you're ever considering starting a business or being an entrepreneur, if you are starting it just you with your own personal funds, which is exactly what I was doing, you better be ready to be all of the things, to be the sales, to be the marketing, to be the PR, to be the social media person, to be all of the things that are not fun, especially starting off. Because as much as I would have loved to just outsource all of these things to someone else or bring in a salesperson, or have somebody else, respond to the emails. That just isn't the reality when you're starting off. So being literally everything for your business, not just growing the business, but working in it, that was a very real reality that I was doing. And I got to a point of having bottleneck. And I'm like, well, I had at the time 4 different clients and also juggling my own personal campaigns that I was working on with some brands through my personal social media. I was at a point where I was like, all I was focusing on was building the social media for my clients, because of course they're clients of mine, so their stuff comes first, and I wasn't able to actually still create my own content for my own business to promote it. I was trying to go to networking events, and a lot of it just became a lot. And I'm like, you know what? I'm only one person. I only have so many hours in the day, which is a very real struggle. And then it made me realize at this point too, I also had hired a business coach. A business coach is something that, please don't underestimate, the importance of hiring a business coach or a mentor, especially if you're a brand new entrepreneur, or having somebody in your life who is an entrepreneur, who has a little bit of experience under their belt and is ultimately, you would like them to be 20 to 50 steps ahead of you, so that way you can learn from them. The more experienced they are, the better. But my business coach at the time was telling me, like, you need to find ways to automate things. We're in a season where AI is huge. You need to learn ways to implement it, because even if you did have the funds to hire somebody, if you don't have systems already in place to where you can essentially have it wrapped up in a pretty bow and hand it off to someone for them to just take it and run with it, hiring another individual is going to be a waste of your money, a waste of your time anyways. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners go wrong, is they try to bring on another person, but then when that time comes, they realize, like, oh wow, there's actually a lot of things that I didn't even know I needed to formally write out and put as, like, this is the process, this is the XYZ of how it works. So that really made me realize, oh wow, I need to have systems in play. And at that time too, I also was seeking for, an intern to be with me. And that really was eye-opening too, to a lot of areas within the business that I did not have systems in place to scale. So that was huge and eye-opening too. And it was when I took that step to try to bring on an intern that was truly the biggest stepping stone and learning experiment for me too, because it made me realize, like, oh wow, if I truly want to scale my business to bring on other employees, being able to tell them how my business actually runs is key. Knowing the gaps that need to be filled, knowing what I want to still oversee, knowing what I want to hand off. If you are a business owner who doesn't even have systems in place, and knowing the day-to-day tasks that absolutely need to happen in order to make your business run, if you can't rattle those off and know the exact order, the time of day, how many times per week certain things need to happen, the different quote-unquote departments of your business, even if it's just you, having an organization chart for your business is what you need to have, because you cannot, even if you have the financial means to do so in your business to hire someone, if you can't clearly tell them what your expectations are for them, then you hiring them is just going to be a waste, or you bringing on an intern is just going to be a waste. And I will just say that is one thing that I learned immensely by trying to having an intern with me for a while. But then it did come to a point to where I was like, okay, if I'm at a bottleneck and this is where I'm at, like, let me learn and look back at this, amount of time that I've been doing this business model. And I was feeling a lot of frustration, to be honest, in trying to be the salesperson, doing the discovery calls, the onboarding, the research for each business, and all of the things. I had a moment where my business mentor had told me, she was like, okay, in 5 years from now, do you see yourself continuing to be on this same path? Like 5 years down the line, because if you don't see yourself 5 years from now doing this same thing, why are you wasting your time building your business in this structure? If one, it's not sustainable. Two, also the biggest thing that really, really stopped me dead in my tracks is she asked me, she was like, if you were to step away from your business for a week, would it still run or would it fall apart? And I said, honestly, it would fall apart. And she said, well, then you don't have a business. You just built yourself a job. And I was like, oh my goodness, you are so right. And so I was like, well, that's the exact reason I stepped away from a 9 to 5, is because I didn't want that quote unquote 9 to 5. I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to build something for myself. I've always been an individual that has all of these ideas. And so it made me decide, okay, I need to pivot. And therefore, with all of that in mind, and also considering that I would always have people reach out to me on Instagram and whatever it might be and ask like, hey, I want to start a social media page, or I want to start doing content creation. Can you help me? Or what should I do? And all these things. And as much as I would love to be able to say yes to everybody, I knew that I just couldn't. And so I'm like, okay, clearly this is a need. People trust me for it, and I want to be able to give back and pour into them and teach them what I know, working with brands, doing brand partnerships, sponsorships, contract negotiation, how to create content, how to, get clients, XYZ. And so I was like, well, what better way to do that other than launching an online course and community? I knew that I did not just want to sell another PDF, digital product. I did try those. I will be honest. I did try it. It did not work. And I saw so many people doing it and quote unquote being successful doing it. But I'm like, that's just not personal. I don't believe in a buy a one-time $20, PDF file and you implement it and then that's your ticket to success. I'm like, no, that's just not the way that anything works. So I don't want to sell something like that. I would much rather develop an online course community that has weekly live trainings and it builds community and brings together other people who are also on this same mission to learn the content creation, learn how to build a personal brand, learn how to speak on camera, learn the necessary things that it takes to grow on social media, and turn it into something that can create opportunities for them, whether that be income, a business, brand sponsorships, partnerships, speaking events, whatever that might be. That, for me, I was like, that's it. That's what I want to build, because I know the struggles and things that I went through when I was first starting off on my social media journey, and how many questions that I had and how many times I wish I would have had, another friend that was doing the same thing that I was doing to bounce ideas off of, to learn from, or accessible ways to learn. Because let's be real, investing in a business coach is really expensive. I have invested the money in it and it is a lot. And there's a lot of, and I was doing also one-on-one training with clients too. I would do one-on-one strategy coaching. And also at the end of the day, I'm like, not everybody can afford that. Also, I can only coach so many people one-on-one. So an online subscription-based platform was the next thing that I knew I wanted to do, that next door that I wanted to open with Soar Society. Hence why I launched the Soar Society Collective, and it is here. It is growing. I am taking feedback from you guys, and it is going to be something that is ever growing, ever changing, ever improving. That is the goal. When you launch something first, it's never going to be perfect, but the most important thing is that you launch something to begin with. Launch it with the best information that and put your best foot forward, and then take raw, honest feedback from people. Ask the questions, hear what they have to say, hear what the needs are, and then from there you fine-tune, pivot, alter the product or the service from there with your ideal customer in mind, because then the heart of it is that you were best trying to serve them. And that is exactly what this community is for. So I would absolutely love to see you in there, so that way I can actually walk alongside of you in your journey of building your own personal brand. And you can also have access to other people who are building alongside of you, because content creation is largely about showing up, but you want to show up in the right way, doing the right things, posting the right things, saying and building the right personal brand for yourself. So that way you can just grow, because we are in an age of social media where there's so much opportunity. I mean, I just came from South by Southwest up in Austin this past weekend, and to see the people there that I got to see speak, knowing that a year ago I saw some of those same individuals that were just starting off, didn't have the following, goes to show that just showing up consistently in the right way can change your life. And all of that to say this is just the beginning of to why I also want to document this journey here on my podcast, because I don't want to sugarcoat it. I don't want us to be afraid to talk about the wins, the losses, the missteps, and all of the things, because that is part of the journey. That is the reality. And if you made it this far, I absolutely appreciate you and cannot wait to see you inside the Soar Society Collective. The information will be either in the description or in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube or Spotify. And one ask that I have for you is to subscribe, share this with a friend who is also thinking about starting a business or wants to learn social media, content creation, marketing, all of those things. Share it with a friend, because that is my heart behind this, is to genuinely share what I know and to grow this society of the next generation of content leaders. That is all for today's episode, and I will see you in the next episode.